So, everybody, the level 3 adventure for Candlekeep Mysteries is a bit of a puzzler, at least to me, because it seems more like a collection of disparate elements than a really coherent story. However, it does have some fabulous elements that you can pull out and use in other campaigns of your own. And other people may look at this and they may think that this story as a whole makes a whole lot more sense than I do. So, by all means, if you like this one and you think it's great, you're not wrong. I'm just not seeing how everything quite goes together. So, let's talk a little bit about the Book of the Raven. So, this is the third story or the third adventure in the Candlekeep Mysteries source book that was released in March of 2021. The theme of this one, obviously, we're going to solve a mystery, and it's a mystery about a book that was delivered by a bird, delivered to Candlekeep by a bird. So there's two settings for this one. Actually, there's kind of three settings, potentially. The two major settings are Candlekeep Library itself and then a mysterious estate at the end of a treasure map. Okay, teaser for this one. A treasure map falls out of a book that was delivered to Candlekeep by a raven more than a century ago. So, backstory for this one is that a were-raven hid the map in the books in the hopes that those who share the goals of his kindness would follow the map and join the flock. All right, so a kindness is the collective noun for were-ravens. So you have a kindness of were-ravens. And there's also kind of a pun on that when it talks about the actual synopsis of the book. So now this book doesn't actually have a title anywhere on the spine or on any title pages or on the front or back cover. But the topic of the book, which is handwritten, is about the kindness of the Vistani. And the Vistani people, yes, these are the same Vistani people from Curse of Strahd, or that's the Vistani are one of the groups of people you find in Barovia, Curse of Strahd. And the Vistani have a gift to travel to demi-planes that are connected to the Shadowfell. So that's ostensibly the contents of the book. And, you know, I don't want to give away too much of the plot of what the book is, but it's just about the Vistani people and their kindness towards strangers. So now a group of were-ravens have discovered a shadow crossing on the grounds of an old estate, and the map leads you to that estate. So the map has nothing to do with the book, and the topic of the book has nothing to do with the estate. So this is sort of where it kind of starts to feel like there's just two completely separate elements here that don't really have a relationship to each other. The only thing is there's kind of a pun with the fact that, you know, were-ravens consider a group of were-ravens a kindness, and the topic of the book is about the kindness of the Vistani towards strangers. So maybe that's where there's a connection. But anyway, and these were-ravens, they monitor this shadow crossing for any signs that someone is trying to bring evil items out of the Shadowfell into the natural world. And currently, this group of were-ravens are trying to decide how to dispose of a small statue of the demon god Orcus that displays supernaturally evil powers. All right, so we said that the treasure map falls out of a book, details the kindness of the Vistani people toward a wounded traveler. Map leads to a long-abandoned chalet that was a hunting lodge for an heirless baron that died many years ago. The only inhabitants on the grounds of the chalet are ravens by day, and secretly those are were-ravens, and they do not manifest in their hybrid or human form, either A, until after nightfall, or B, until they can't avoid a confrontation with the PCs, or they can't avoid an encounter with the PCs, we should say that. Were-ravens are connected to an order founded by the scholar that slipped the map into the book many years earlier. And they monitor the chalet because there's a shadow crossing on the grounds. And they want to hide any evil items that come to the natural world from the Shadowfell, so that bad people cannot have them. And this statue of Orcus that they have, it has supernaturally kind of evil powers, maybe because it was carved from a petrified ogre's heart. Ugh. So the were-ravens do not fight the PCs. In fact, they'll flee if they are confronted violently. And if the PCs are friendly towards them, then the were-ravens, once they are encountered, will be friendly towards the PCs. And there's even like a little thing in there about if a party member wants to become a member of this society, where they have to find somebody who will give them the gift of lycanthropy to be a were-raven, and then they have to be sponsored by members of this. But it's like, other than the society kind of having the self-given mission of looking out for items of evil and trying to keep them out of the hands of evildoers, that's kind of all there is to it. That would be the only reason to join that society. Now, there's some minor undead on the grounds of the chalet, but they only manifest under specific circumstances. And basically those circumstances are the PCs have to go and intentionally do something that will rouse the undead. Now, they don't necessarily know what it is, but if they do specific actions, it will rouse the undead, essentially. Now, the were-ravens will... This is another curious thing. The were-ravens will freely tell the party members about the shadow crossing, and they don't even seem to mind if the party winds up using it. However, as soon as the party goes to the shadow crossing, the were-ravens, they block it up again. And it makes it really difficult for the party to get back. So, yeah. They're kind of a... This thing is kind of all over the place. It's like, well, there's no reason to go to the Shadowfell unless you want to go. And even it describes, if you go through the Shadow Crossing, there's really nothing there except terrain of a similar type. There's not a chalet there. There's a graveyard there. And if you go poking around that graveyard, you'll disturb some a bit more powerful undead, and then they'll all try to attack the party. And you wind up having, I think it's like you have like up to 6 different waves of undead that will attack the party if they go through the Shadowfell and try to fight them there. So yeah, and in the story, either in the book as it's written or in the way the adventure is written, there's really no hook or no reason other than, the party saying, hey, there's a crossing to the Shadowfell. I wonder what's over there. There's no reason for them to go there. They don't have to go retrieve anything. They don't have to go chase anybody down. They're not asked to go. They're not encouraged to go, but they're not discouraged from going. It's just kind of there, and it's a matter of whether the party decides to use it. So, again, there's seems like there's just these little pieces of things, and it doesn't seem like a very coherent whole, because there's not even anything that you have to go there and bring back to Candlekeep. There's no connection to Candlekeep in this, in this thing. So it feels kind of like a very open-ended story, and which that's not a bad thing if you as the DM have something to add to it, but it doesn't feel like an adventure that quite has a full purpose on its own. That's all I'm saying. I just yeah, this one is one that has me scratching my head a little bit. Okay, so the most common enemies you're going to find, and really kind of the only enemies you're going to find in here, are undead. The toughest single encounter is a pair of gargoyles. And keep in mind, 2 gargoyles for a level 3 party. That can be pretty tough. And then that's actually the first encounter of a series of 6 encounters, just 6 waves of encounters. So you have to deal with the gargoyles first, and then you're going to get 5 more waves of different kinds of undead attacking the party after they have dealt with the gargoyles and without the ability to take any kind of rest in between. So the special creature or items in here, special creature is a were-raven. I mean, they're not unique to this story. There's were-ravens in the Curse of Strahd adventure, and they're were-ravens along with were-bears are considered at least neutral, if not on the good side of lycanthropes. And my favorite element of the adventure is the description of a shadow crossing. There are specific mechanics that are described about how the shadow crossing works, when it works, sort of the environmental manifestations of the shadow crossing, and specifically the times that you can go through the shadow crossing from the natural world into the Shadowfell, and the times that you can come from the Shadowfell back into the natural world through the shadow crossing. It's not just a portal that's open all the time, or a two-way portal that is open at the same time. It seems like there's one specific time that you can go through into the Shadowfell, and another specific time you can come out of the Shadowfell into the natural world. So that, I think, is really kind of interesting. So if you have a campaign where you have a story arc that you want to take your party into the Shadowfell, you can lift this element of this shadow crossing out of this adventure and drop that into your campaign in a convenient location, wherever you want that shadow crossing to be. So I think that's kind of a cool element here. Easiest homebrew adaptation, like I've been saying, this adventure seems more like a collection of disparate threads. Not really a strong story to tie the map with the book, and not a strong hook for the party to travel to the location in a map. And the shadow crossing is about the most compelling element to use in a homebrew game if you need that in your setting. And then using it with other editions, well, just about everything, including, I think, the were-ravens. The were-ravens are not a new creation for 5th edition. So everything in this adventure is found in most earlier editions of the game. So you could easily pull this out of 5th edition and use it in a original D&D or 1st edition or 3rd edition, or probably even 4th edition game, with very minor changes, if any, required. All right, and that is going to do it for our look at the Book of the Raven. for this week. Next week, continuing our series of Candlekeep Mysteries, we will be back to look at the adventure called A Deep and Creeping Darkness. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for spending some time this week here. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Take care. Good night, everybody.